Welcome to Fearless with Jason Whitlock. I am Jason Whitlock, your host. Thank you so much for being here. We have an awesome show planned for you today. Happy Friday. It's going to be an awesome football weekend. The Chiefs play the Ravens in an important game. Oregon plays Penn State in an important game on Saturday. Football weekend's going to be crazy. We'll talk about that at the start of the show. TJ Moe is here with me in studio. Steve Kim will join us via Zoom here shortly. There's other things to talk about as well. Last night, a pretty interesting NFL game on Thursday Night Football. And Richard Sherman and Tony Gonzalez kind of stole some attention from the game with their discussion of Russell Wilson and his Hall of Fame career. That we'll talk about that. Shedeur Sanders thinks he can outplay most of the guys starting in the National Football League, and he voiced that opinion. Bill Maher begged Stephen A. Smith to run for the Democrat nomination. You guys are tired of hearing me say, I told you so, but I will say I told you so. I had a winning week last week on my Fearless 5. And so it's Friday, and I'll have my new Fearless 5 for those of you that are inclined to put a little money on the game. The other thing, you're probably just copping to what's been going on. My NFL picks have been really rock solid. It's my college picks that have struggled. I blame John Hadley for that. It's not my fault. I blame John Hadley for that. And so I've made my own picks today, and I've ignored all of John Hadley's advice. So anything that happens this week, I get all the credit for it. And on the Harmony channel, around 11:15, we will discuss the death of Voddie Baucham. Voddie Baucham, you guys remember him from Roll Call 2.0. You guys remember Voddie just as one of the great pastors, ministers, disciples, evangelists. Quite an influence on me, quite an influence on a lot of people that are on a faith walk. And so Chad Jackson, who you guys have seen with me, he's doing the documentary on Martin Luther King, very close with Voddie. He will join us, and we'll share some memories. Virgil Walker, who had a relationship with Voddie, he will join us. We wanted to get Dave Shannon, Chalk Knox on. He and Voddie were very close, but Dave's traveling, and so it'll be Virgil, Chad Jackson, and myself and TJ Moe on the Harmony channel talking about the legacy of Voddie Baucham. For those of you that follow this show know exactly what I'm talking about. It's been kind of interesting. I couldn't find anything in the New York Times or Washington Post about the death of Voddie, which disappoints me but doesn't really surprise me. Voddie's ministry is just too sound to be recognized in something like the New York Times, and particularly with him being black. Those types of black ministers are not supposed to exist. Voddie did exist, and so it doesn't surprise me that the New York Times and Washington Post, they don't want black people to know that there are ministers like Voddie Baucham who are that sound. But anyway, we'll talk about that on the Harmony channel. If you're listening over Apple, hit that 5-star review, please. We need it. It helps us fight the algorithm. It helps us grow the show. So if you're listening right now, hey, what can I do to help Fearless? Very easy. Hit that 5-star review on Apple. The other thing you can do is join me in thanking Preborn for the existence of today's show. You guys know Preborn's been our best friend, and it's been the best friend to expectant mothers who are up in the air and thinking they're listening to the world and, you shouldn't have that baby. It's going to interfere with the rest of your life, and it's going to be a burden and a hassle. Preborn comes in and tells that woman the biblical truth, and they do it by starting by eliminating the myth. Oh, that's just a clump of cells. That's just a fetus. No, that is God's precious baby in a mother's womb. And they introduce that idea and back up that idea, reinforce that idea by providing the woman an ultrasound, introducing the baby's heartbeat to the mother, introducing an image of the baby in the womb to the mother. Once that transpires, the woman is now twice as likely to choose life. And that's where preborn really comes in and helps that woman and child for up to 2 years. And they can do this because those of us in the Fearless Army, those of us that know life begins at conception, we support preborn with our donations. Each ultrasound is $28, 5 ultrasounds is $140. Whether you give monthly or a one-time donation, it all goes to a worthy cause. I've introduced you all to Dan Steiner, the founder of preborn, right here on this show. Dan was just out at my house last week. Our money's not being wasted. It's not being thrown at me, thrown at summer homes for mid-level executives. It's paying for ultrasounds. It's paying for diapers. It's helping women spiritually. It's helping women understand the importance of that baby and helping that baby and mother for up to 2 years. So there's 2 ways to give. Pound 250, say the keyword baby. That's pound 250, keyword baby. Or give the way that I prefer to give, preborn.com/fearless. That's preborn.com/fearless. If you do that, please send me an email because I need to pick me up. It's been rough. Charlie Kirk was assassinated. Vodi Bakum just passed away, a month, 2 ago. John MacArthur died. I need a little pick-me-up. And so, you know what? Not just for you to give. I probably need to give a little extra today, and I will do that. I want God to be pleased with me. Anyway, let me get to today's show, and let's start by previewing and talking about the biggest game in the National Football League. The Baltimore Ravens visit the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Ravens are actual favorites in this game. Both of these teams are 1-2. Some Super Bowl favorite with Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes, somebody's going to start 1-3. I think it's going to be, I don't know. I'm saying I really don't know who I think it's going to be, but somebody's starting 1-3. I think. Well, here's what I do believe. I think the Chiefs have a better schedule and could potentially survive 1-3 easier. Do I really believe that? Broncos? Steve Kim. Who has a better chance? Who can survive 1-3, the Ravens or the Chiefs?
I just am not a believer in the Chiefs. I thought they had a completely inflated record last year. I expect a regression to the mean look, last year, they were one of the worst. What do they win? 14, 15 games? Well, they were the worst 14, 15 game winning team I've ever seen. Because when I think of teams that win that many games, the first word that comes into my mind is dominance. Never did I actually think they were ever the best team. The record may have said it, but I didn't think that was the truth. This year, things equal out a little bit. They're injured at the wide receiver spot. Patrick Mahomes looks like, to me, a very skittish quarterback. I still like Baltimore. I know they have some issues defensively, but I get the sense they are the better overall team.
Can they go on the road and win this game? Because what I'm hearing from you initially is you think Baltimore can survive a 1-3 start. That doesn't mean you think Baltimore is going to win this game.
I'm not sure about that. I mean, Jason, 1-3 at one point, I don't want to say it was a death sentence. You have 17 games now. So it's a little bit different than before. I think the math is a little bit different in terms of the percentages, in terms of 1-3 starts. But if you look at Baltimore, and if you look at Kansas City, to be fair, they both lost close games. It's not like they're getting blown out 31-3, right? So if you actually look at the point differential of both clubs, it's really not that bad. They could easily be 3-1 or 2-2. after this week, right? Both of them. Again, Kansas City's at home. So do I expect them? Do I expect them to hold serve? Yes, but I still think Baltimore's a better team overall.
Here's Baltimore's upcoming schedule. Obviously at Kansas City this weekend, host the Houston Texans, the LA Rams, then they bye, then they get the Chicago Bears, then they get the Dolphins. They got some recovery time. There's the
that's
Chiefs
about 3
upcoming
wins.
schedule.
Jason, that's three pretty good wins I see right there, especially the Dolphins. Mark that one down.
All right. So, yeah, I think we can do that. Here's Baltimore, the Chiefs' upcoming schedule is Baltimore, obviously, at Jacksonville. Then they got to host the Detroit Lions, then the Las Vegas Raiders, then the Washington Commanders, then at Buffalo. The thing where I think I can't write the Chiefs off until those receivers come back. And Patrick Mahomes has developed something with this Thornton kid and the deep ball. And then once Rashee Rice and they got a full complement and they don't need Travis Kelce, then I'll be willing to judge the Kansas City Chiefs. And I guess that is why I think the Chiefs could survive this 1-3 start better than the Baltimore Ravens if I had a gun to my head.
Yeah, but Jay, I just can't get out of my head. I'm coming back on my JetBlue flight Sunday night, and I'm watching this prime time game. They were very lucky that they probably played the worst team in the league in the Giants. And I mean the Giants with Russell Weirdo. I'm just thinking this is a pillow fight. Any other team, they may have lost by 10 to 14 points. So I'm looking at this going, I get it. The Ravens lost. The Ravens lost to a loaded roster. They did. Detroit's still one of the top 5 rosters in the sport. Turns out that Dan Campbell can actually still lead a team without his 2 coordinators. And they were in that game. I just look at the Chiefs and I think fraud. Absolute. And I know I'm saying that about the AFC champions, but I'll stick with it. Fraud.
There's a 100% chance that the Ravens have a better chance of surviving. There's also a 100% chance the Ravens are going to beat the Chiefs, probably by double digits in Arrowhead. The Ravens have scored 111 points already this year.
Well, they've given up 110?
They have struggled on defense, but also I'm not that worried about Baltimore's defense. They've had a couple. One of their losses, everybody watched it, is a Derrick Henry fumble, and now he's fumbled in 3 straight games. If you go back in history, I think he fumbled like 3 times in like 1,000 carries.
Yeah.
Okay. So the guy doesn't fumble. He's fumbled in 3 straight games, and Lamar is playing as good as Lamar has ever played. I think Baltimore is going to go in and dominate this weekend. And I think the Chiefs are going to be having a discussion about how are we going to circle the wagons and should we go get Tyreek Hill back on this team to figure out our offense.
Steve Kim, Jason Whitlock with 2 very weak, lukewarm takes. TJ Moe comes in piping hot, fearless with TJ Moe. I think that we should be renaming this show. TJ's confidence with that deal, with that pick, kind of shakes me, moves me.
I just flat out said the Chiefs were a fraud in bold letters. How much, this could be a freezing cold take here. They could rip off 15 straight wins and I'll be clipped in Kansas City. Come on. That was pretty fearless right there. Fraud. As Jimmy Johnson said, put it in 3-inch headlines. Fraud.
Well, yeah, I guess. I got the lukewarm take. Steve Kim and TJ Moe coming in hot. All right, let's see if holds true here. Oregon at Penn State. This is a very critical game for James Franklin. However, I have a complaint about this game, and it's not nearly as meaningful as it would have been 5 years ago or certainly 10 years ago. This would be Oregon and Penn State, top-ranked teams. This is going to decide who's got a case to be in a major bowl game or the BCS Championship Series or the playoffs. Now, this game, it's like an exhibition. It's going to be fun to watch, but it's not going to determine anybody's playoff bid. It's just not as meaningful. This is playoff expansion makes these games far less meaningful. and that's a little disappointing.
All right, Jay, I wouldn't go as far as exhibition. It is a regular season game. They don't have that at that level of football yet. But, Jason, you are absolutely 100% right. And, in fact, there is a chance this could be one of 3 meetings. Think about it, Jason. They play right now, next Saturday or tomorrow. Let's say Ohio State has a loss or 2. These teams can meet in the Big Ten title. Well, the runner-up of the Big Ten, they're not eliminated. They'll just get a lower seed. And let's say they both make their way through the playoff. They could play in the semifinals. You're right, Jason. There used to be a time when there was much more value to games of this nature because you got one shot. Rematches were very rare. They did happen once in a while, like 95 or 96. Florida State and Florida played 2 times within a 7-week stretch. Right? And Bobby Bowden, to this day, the day he died, thought that they got a raw deal because they had to beat the Gators twice, and they did not. I go back all the way to 1988. Florida State, in that year, lost the opening game to Miami, 31-0. They got ambushed. They won the rest of their games, Jason, and by the end of the year, they were as good as anybody. Didn't even play for the national title, so it meant something. That element is gone. You're right.
TJ, I don't remember your day. I certainly remember my day. And everything in my day was, hey, just win your conference.
Yes.
That's all you, just win your conference, get you a conference championship ring. That was the ultimate.
Yeah.
And, I played in the Mid-American Conference. We dreamed about that. People that played in the Big Ten, they dreamed about that. Winning, and now, as Steve just said, well, if you're the Big Ten runner-up, you still make the playoffs. Yeah. Didn't Ohio State
Didn't even play in the game last year, Jason.
No. Yeah, and then won the national championship. This. I'm looking forward to this game, but in previous years or previous iterations of college football, this would be like clear your schedule, can't miss. It would be an amazing. And I used to always argue this: college football was the unique team sport where every game mattered, and it had the most important regular season in all of sports. That's what made it unique and special, and we've just thrown it away.
Yeah, perfection used to be a prerequisite to playing in the championship game. I mean, you would have 2 undefeated teams, and so upsets mattered. We've actually created an environment now where upsets don't matter at all. You can lose to a 3-9 team and make the playoffs. Who cares? It just doesn't matter at all. Whereas before, everybody would tune in to the fourth quarter to find out if Ohio State was going to lose because that's it. Their season's over. But prior to the playoff, it was like if you lost in week 3, too bad. It doesn't matter if you win every game by 75 points the rest of the year. You are done. So every moment mattered. And now I don't even care about the upset. It's taken my interest away. I'm like, oh, okay, Iowa State won again. Great. Because it doesn't matter. There's no real impact on it. I only now care the 3rd time that Ohio State loses because now they might be out of the playoffs.
Might be. Jason, I remember in 1988, I think there's a big controversy. I think you had just transferred out of Michigan. I remember you and Bo Schembechler had some issues. Yeah, boy, that was a big story. But in 88, Michigan lost on a last-second field goal by Reggie Ho at Notre Dame, who ended up winning the national title, right? Then the next week, they blew a 30-14 lead to Miami in the last 7 minutes, and then they won the rest of their games, including the Rose Bowl, and I think it might have been Bo Schembechler's best team. In the current system, they would have been a strong contender to win the playoff. In 88, it's just like, hey, congratulations, you're the 3rd best team, and enjoy Pasadena. So I have a question, Jason. If you were still on that team, what would you have preferred, the 88 system or the current system?
I'm old. I prefer everything in the past. Make America great again is my slogan.
1960s would be great.
Yeah.
Make college football great again.
Yeah, and so I prefer the old system. Listen. When a Ball State, we played at Camp Randall. I don't think Wisconsin was that good. We played at Purdue, but I'm trying to think of who the best teams were we played when I was there. But nobody great that was in the title hunt. But the margin of victory used to matter. You play a mid-major, And it's like you couldn't just beat them. You had to beat them by 3 or 4 touchdowns, or you may have lost points in the rating system. And I get it. I sound like the old man on the line, and maybe we all do. But we have lost some things. We have sacrificed some things. This is what made college football so special. And look, I'm going to enjoy this game. I'm going to enjoy the James Franklin angle of it because James Franklin's a really good coach. He's got some. I think it's just bad luck.
1 in 15 against top 5 teams. That's a lot of bad luck.
That's luck.
Thank God Oregon's number 6.
Jason,
I'm foolish for calling that just bad luck. I mean, he's a good.
Yeah, that's
He had success at Vanderbilt. He's turned Penn State. They were in the playoffs last year. Who'd they beat? SMU and
Boise
Northern
State.
Illinois in the playoffs.
They got the luck of the
Boise
draw.
State, yeah. Yeah.
schedule.
Yeah. But I think the guy's a good coach, and I mean, a very good coach. I mean, calling it bad luck is probably, I'll get ridiculed.
Oregon's going to win the national championship this year thanks to Charlie Kirk. That's usually how these things work when there's some sort of tragedy. And so I expect Oregon to win this by double digits. And again, not for any other.
Hot Take Mo is at it again.
Yeah, no,
on the road?
On the road, yeah.
By
It's a
double
whiteout.
digits.
Yeah, because the coach they're playing is 1 in 15 against teams. Again, they're number 6, but against top 5 teams, they one time, and it was back in like 2016, I think, they beat Ohio State when they were number 2. Otherwise, they've lost 15 games against top 5. That is a hit on this guy.
Yeah.
And look,
TJ.
this is at Penn State. This isn't when he was at Vanderbilt. This is at Penn State. He plays a lot of top 5 teams, and he loses to them all.
TJ, that
Did
victory in
Hadley prep you today?
2016
I can
was
tell.
a primetime whiteout game like tomorrow night will be. And if that's the game I think that Ohio State was lining up for a game-winning field goal, and they blocked it, and Penn State returned it. That's the one victory. Keep this in mind. I don't think it's just a referendum on Coach Franklin. I think Drew Aller, the quarterback for Penn State, he's got to come up big in these moments. I mean, last year when they lost to Notre Dame, well, I thought they had a superior team. Did you know that the Penn State wide receivers had as much production as us 3? 0 yards. And so they had to rebuild their whole wide receiver crew through the portal. And those guys have been okay. But the receivers that have left Penn State are all of a sudden much more explosive. So I'm wondering, are these two tied in together? They got the new coordinator last year. Based on the eye test of what I've seen, guys, and again, neither team has played a great schedule. Oregon, I think, is as good as anybody. I really do. But this is a first road game. First start for Dante Moore as a talented quarterback as an Oregon Ducks starter. I don't count UCLA. That was a year that doesn't matter, right? So it's also a prime time road game for Oregon. I think Oregon's the better team, but I think there's some factors here that could swing this game.
Penn State picked the wrong quarterback. The better quarterback's playing for Mizzou right now. His name's Bo Prabula.
Bo Prabula.
And yes, he's actually very good.
Yeah.
And so instead, they have a quarterback who I do not believe in. And we'll find out. He has no signature win. Neither does his coach. And at some point, we'll find.
Hot Take TJ Moe is all over Oregon and the Baltimore Ravens. We gotta mark this down. This is like
Hadley says Penn State by 13.
yeah, I know that, which gave me more confidence in your pick. Yeah, wow. This is not because I didn't include this in my Fearless 5, but there is a guaranteed winner out there for you, and this isn't a marquee game. But I was just looking up to make sure, and I've just been disappointed. The BYU Colorado game is going to conflict with the fourth quarter of the Oregon Penn State game. I'll just have to go two screens or whatever because I have to monitor. But anyway, while looking up what time Colorado kicked off, I just remembered that UCF 3-0 is getting 6.5 points at 1-3 Kansas State. This makes no sense to me. Could be a setup. I can hear my guy Brian Locke right now in New York saying, "Whitlock, it's a trap. Don't do it. Run away. That line makes no sense." He's thinking there's something screwy going on, but UCF getting 6.5 points makes no sense to me at all. They just put a clown suit on North Carolina. Maybe they're overvalued. But let me keep it moving. I want to move on to last night's football game. Sam Darnold and the Seattle Seahawks, I think, moved to 2-1 last night, or 3-1. 3-1. Yeah, this is the beginning of next week. 3-1. Last second field goal, led big, and then Kyler Murray in Arizona came back. Last second field goal, they win. Kyler Murray threw 2 interceptions last night. Sam Darnold played another clean game and looked pretty good doing it. I don't even know if this is a crazy statement. It may be a lukewarm statement. It may just be obvious. Is Sam Darnold a better quarterback than Kyler Murray? Steve Kim?
Not only is it not a hot take, that's a colder take than an iceberg in Antarctica. That's not even semi-controversial. If you said they were about the same level, I'd be like, yeah, I don't know about that. Jason, I don't want your DMs flooded again. You get into a lot of conflicts that, quite frankly, is a little unfair. I don't want her coming back in your DMs, but I said to someone on Twitter, and this guy agreed with me, random fan, God bless him out there. Doesn't little Kyler remind you, isn't he the quarterback version of Russell Westbrook? Not Brick, Brook. It's exciting. He's athletic. He's skittish. But it's not all that effective. It's not all that efficient. Great for highlights, but in terms of winning and leading you all the way, that's what I see. He's the Russell Westbrook of quarterbacks, Kyler Murray.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's when you said Russell, I was like, is he about to slander Russell Wilson again?
No, we're doing that later.
Yeah. Russell Westbrook. There's some truth in that. A pocket-sized Russell Westbrook, that's what Kyler Murray is. And keep in mind, and Hadley just reminded me of this, Sam Darnold is 17-4 in his last 21 starts. That includes his run with the Minnesota Vikings, obviously, where that defense had a lot. But Sam Darnold, who wasn't he like the 3rd pick in the draft?
Yes.
He was pretty high up, wasn't he?
Yes.
Yeah.
Top 5 of the Jets.
Is Steve? I guess that's not much of a take that Sam Darnold is better than Kyler Murray.
Sam Darnold is on the Geno Smith trajectory, a guy that everybody wrote off as a bust and has come back and been a very good quarterback. Now, I think he's better than Geno. Geno slipped to the 2nd round because he didn't quite have the talent that Sam Darnold did. But Sam Darnold, there was a year in the Steve, you probably remember this year. Maybe it was Sam Darnold's sophomore year at USC, where they made a run, and I think they ended up nearing the playoff, and they would have won that year. Sam Darnold was go ahead.
TJ, they made the Rose Bowl, and he didn't start that year. They got blown out by Alabama in one of those neutral site games. Max Brown was the starter. And then, in essence, Sam Darnold saved the job of Clay Helton, and they beat a Saquon Barkley-led Penn State team in a great Rose Bowl comeback. It was a great college quarterback, no doubt about it.
Yes, and so there was a year. I mean, the kid was really, really good. His final year there, they went 11-3 at USC. The kid was good. I mean, if you spent 5 seconds listening to Colin Cowherd, you would have thought he won the Heisman 12 straight times, and that he was going to be Super Bowl MVP in his first year. But I'm just saying, the kid's good. He started in New York. Who's been was Joe Namath the last good quarterback in the New York Jets?
Ken O'Brien.
Chad Pennington. Chad Pennington.
Yeah,
okay,
Pennington.
He was a top 15 quarterback, probably.
I bet you Pennington made a Pro Bowl one year, but Mark Sanchez.
Mr. Butt Fumble himself, yes.
Well, he led them to some wins, though, but he was not.
Well, he went to the AFC Championship game twice. It never broke through.
Twice.
Yeah.
But again, he was not a good quarterback. Sanchez,
Yep.
In fact, it was all about, they were the Trent Dilfer Baltimore Ravens. That's who they were.
With no Ray Lewis or Ed Reed or
had Darrell Reeves, though. That was a great Jets defense.
Yeah.
Ken O'Brien was actually underrated. He made a Pro Bowl or two, the pride of UC Davis, who got drafted ahead of Dan Marino in '83. But look at Darnold last year, guys. He was in the MVP discussion, and I think about this. Coming to that last regular season game, TJ, where Darnold led Minnesota, and I think they had 13, 14 victories, and he had a really bad game against Detroit, right? Okay, it happens. Then he had a real bad playoff game in the first round against the Rams. Let's say he plays a little bit better in both those games or one of them. I'm not so sure J.J. McCarthy is actually the starter in Minnesota this season. That kind of sealed his fate. But go back to the overall numbers of Darnold last year. He was an elite quarterback. I'm not so sure Kyler Murray's ever had that type of season.
By the way, yeah, go ahead, because I'm about to take us off track a little bit here.
Oh, I was just going to say, yeah, the comparison itself is crazy. I mean, I get that Kyler was the number one pick, but that was the last time anybody thought he'd be good.
Yeah. Chad Pennington, did you know, finished second in the MVP race?
What?
once.
I did not know that.
What year?
Yes. He was with the Miami Dolphins.
Oh, that's a comeback year.
In 2008. In 2008. But I got to say, his numbers weren't that impressive. It's just that Peyton Manning stood so tall above everybody else, and he was the clear-cut MVP that, Chad Pennington finished second. Who finished? I mean, this was a bad year. Yeah. Michael Turner, the running back, I believe, out of Northern Illinois University, played for the Falcons.
For the Falcons.
Finished third. My man James Harrison, who I love, the Pittsburgh Steelers linebacker, finished fourth. Adrian Peterson fifth. But, I mean, Chad Pennington, two guys out of the MAC. Chad Pennington played at Marshall. Michael Turner at Northern Illinois finished second and third. But anyway, Chad Pennington, he wasn't a Pro Bowler. He finished second in the MVP race.
And that was in Miami. So going back to our Jets thing, he was decent with the Jets, but
finished second with 19 TD passes and 7 interceptions.
Oh my God. Second
pretty pedestrian.
Oh.
Yeah, pretty pedestrian. Did I finish all my points there as I wanted to on the Arizona Cardinals? And we took a dump on Kyler Murray. We all kind of Steve. No, seriously. There was one other aspect I want. Marvin Harrison. There's a lot of people that think he's on track to be a bust, and this morning, and I say this in all seriousness, and Justin Kraut, one of our producers, young guy, made an excellent point that the problem is Kyler Murray is such a bad leader that he doesn't elevate anybody else. He doesn't. That the reason why Marvin Harrison is perhaps underachieving is because they got such a lame leader at the quarterback position that it's just hard for Marvin Harrison and any of these receivers to be consistently good. There's a lot of people said he cut short a route, and TJ, I don't know if you saw this play, interception Kyler Murray threw, but Kurt Warner, I thought, had an interesting breakdown. It's like Marvin Harrison was trying to read whether Kyler Murray was about to run, and he took a couple of false steps preparing maybe to block. But anyway, Marvin Harrison, Steve, this was a guy in college that everyone saw as a can't miss. It's Marvin Harrison Sr.'s son. He's got more size than his dad. Everyone thought he was going to be the next Larry Fitzgerald. That's not happening so far. Who do you blame?
Well, here's my view of it. Marvin Harrison Jr. does not have Marvin Harrison Sr.'s speed or burst, and creating separation has been an issue. Talking to anyone that has studied the Ohio State tape, like the former coach at Ohio State, Zach Smith, he does a weekly breakdown. He said it 2 years ago, and he's an Ohio State fan. And he said Marvin Harrison has issues creating separation. That's why a lot of people preferred Malik Neighbors in that draft class, because he had more top-end speed. But, Jason, to your point, do I believe Kyler Murray plays a part in this? Yes. Yes, because he does not get the ball off on time consistently, and that has to be a frustrating way to play wide receiver. Now, the issues of separation, I think TJ could talk about it better than I can. He's still not creating a lot, but what he can be is a big-bodied receiver that's going to have to make his share of contested catches in traffic, which he did late in that game. But generally, as a receiver, you want the ball to be thrown on time, not this schoolyard scramble ball that he has to put up with too many times.
Yeah. I'm sorry. People got on me yesterday about needing a cough mic. Anyway, I'm tiny bit distracted. Marvin Harrison, I think many people thought they were looking at a Jerry Rice clone. That, hey, he doesn't have that top end speed, but he knows the game so well. He's Marvin's son. His hands are so good. He's got, isn't he like 6'2", 6'3"? He's got great size. I think they wanted to see a Jerry Rice type player, but let's remember, early in his career, Jerry Rice is spoiled by Joe Montana and Steve Young, and then later in his career, he's just Jerry Rice, and it doesn't matter who the quarterback is, and maybe not that it ever did, but that's what I think people thought they were seeing in Marvin Harrison, the second coming or a poor man's Jerry Rice, and what they really have is maybe a homeless man's Jerry Rice.
Vagrant homeless Rice.
Look, the guy's 6'3", 220 pounds, and we don't have a 40 time. He didn't run it at his pro day or.
That's right. I remember. Yeah.
So we don't know how fast he is. So to Steve's point, it's not like you can point and say we've got speed, but it's just not translating. We don't know. We just know he ran away from people at Ohio State. That is true. He was running. He was jumping over people and he was running away from people. And he's had some good games. It's not like he's just been a total bust. Typically, if you're a receiver that can come in, particularly as a rookie, and have some really big games, and you show those flashes, consistency is another thing. But it's usually quarterback play, and there was nobody. Kyler was hurt a bunch of last year. Didn't he get hurt and miss the back half of last year anyway? And then this year, he's come in, and Kyler is exactly who Kyler is all the time. It's very hard for me to evaluate what people thought would be a transcendent talent when you have a quarterback who, even when, I just rewatched the play you're talking about, even when he does throw, he looks like he's about to run. How do you prepare for that as a wide receiver?
It's tough.
It is, and again, he's so, Steve started to bring this up. You actually can watch this play, and you watch this over and over again. When you're, as a receiver in timing, you know that you need to hit your fourth outside step, push off, and the ball should be there. And then you do that, and you saw it on this play, and the ball should have been there, and he pushed off, and he saw it, and he's like, oh, he's starting to run. And then he stopped, went to block, and then Kyler took 3 steps forward and fired it to the free safety. Okay, that sort of thing. It's like, why are we evaluating Marvin Harrison Jr. here? We should be evaluating how difficult it is to play and why you just need to move on from Kyler Murray.
Move on from Kyler Murray at the price they locked him in at is a lot tougher now. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, just final point. And when I look at Marvin Harrison, I think he'll be a solid player. Again, when you draft a guy that high and he's touted as the greatest Ohio State receiver ever, and I'm thinking, have you forgotten about Chris Carter? And all the other Ohio State receivers the last decade or so have had really good success, right? You can name the names: Michael Thomas, Chris Olave, the young rookie Egbuka out of Tampa Bay. He's already making a run. Jeremiah Smith, I told you this 2 years ago, Jason. I think he's going to be the best they've ever had. He looks like he'll be a top 3 pick. But the comparison that I would make, and let's say that Harrison settles himself and gets better quarterback play, whether that's Kyler Murray or not, I believe the ceiling for him, maybe it's Mike Evans of Tampa Bay, who's quietly put up, I would believe over time, a Hall of Fame career.
Yes.
Yeah, Mike Evans certainly has. I don't, but I think now most people believe Mike Evans has more speed, more athletic.
I don't think people think Mike Evans is very fast. That's always been his thing.
Seems like he's fast enough to get open deep.
He does. That's not his thing, though. He's not running away from people. He's not. You know who the guy, the comparison could be. He also played in the Cardinals. Anquan Bolden is who we should be looking at. The guy who had the strongest hands in football, who caught in.
Stocky though.
Well, this guy's 220 pounds.
No, but stocky, you can get in and out of breaks better than a 6'3" guy.
How tall was
Anquan Bolden was probably 5'11", 6 foot.
Maybe so. My point is, though, that he couldn't. Anquan didn't have any separation. He caught the ball in traffic and with everybody around him better than anybody in the NFL, and he did it for like 6-7 years. That is what you have to be if you're a guy that can't.
Saying Anquan 6'1", but I think he's 6 foot. But it says 6'1". But still, stocky. And look, I shouldn't have brought Jerry Rice into it. I think the Arizona Cardinals thought they were getting Larry Fitzgerald.
Another guy who wouldn't run away from people.
Wasn't running away from people. Big, strong, more physical, precise route runner, knew the game. Anyway, let me keep it moving here because that wasn't even supposed to. This is our most interesting topic in my view. Richard Sherman and Tony Gonzalez. Oh boy, they took a big poop on Russell Wilson. I think I got complaints about you yesterday and your criticism of Russell Wilson. I didn't want to bring that up, but it did. People thought you were way too hard on Russell Wilson.
What did I say? I can't remember.
I can't. I could go to the emails, but there were some people upset with you. They're way too hard on Russell Wilson, about his personal life. I think didn't you dump on?
2 days ago we talked more about yesterday. I brought him up and talking about Belichick.
Oh,
yeah.
Wasn't it? You said something about Ciara and just about how he didn't know himself or wasn't comfortable. He should have never married Ciara.
Yeah, I said it's very difficult to go from being married to the woman that we saw who had the horse mouth to then going to future's baby mama and expecting me to think
people
you're
very
having a
upset
midlife
about
crisis.
Oh,
You can't second guess. You don't. Anyway, I've distraction. We thought we were hard. Richard Sherman and Tony Gonzalez just wiped him off the face of the earth and said Tony Gonzalez is in the Hall of Fame. Richard Sherman, I'm sure, is headed to the Hall of Fame. They want no parts of Russell Wilson in the Hall of Fame. Let's play the clip.
And then that resurfaced clip of Malik Neighbors saying that the quarterback last year with Daniel Jones wasn't the problem. So when you look at this Russell Wilson situation, Tony, he says he's got a lot more football left in him. Okay, he's going to say all the right things. Do you think we've seen the last of Russell Wilson?
Honestly, I hope we have. And I say that because I just looking at him and his career, his legacy, like you talked about, if ever there was somebody who played himself out of a Hall of Fame, it's Russell Wilson.
Really?
And I say that because look at what's happened ever since he left Seattle. When he was in Seattle, he was the man. He was making these good plays. He won a Super Bowl, went to 2 of them. But as soon as he left there, he went to Denver, signed that big old deal. They paid him $39 million to leave. He goes to Pittsburgh, plays there 1 year. He's out of there. Now he goes here and has 3 games. I just don't know if it's going to get any better. And I don't want to see him on a sideline holding a clipboard.
So you're very much under the "what have you done for me lately" thing in taking away the first, decade of his career.
Absolutely, and I just don't think he's done himself any favors since he left Seattle, and I don't know, how's it going to get better? I don't know. So
I agree. I agree. I think you got to judge his career off when the Legion of Boom was there. He had a legendary defense, an all-time defense, and how much success he had. And then without that legendary defense, the success he had. Without that legendary defense, he's been 4-11, 7-8. 0-3 to start with the Giants. He was a winning football player in Seattle, and people said, hey, winning is football player, all this good stuff, all these accolades, and now you get to go on your own and you get to prove, hey, I'm this great quarterback. I'm this guy that's going to be dominant, and it just hasn't worked out that way.
All right, we will leave that right there because this discussion could go on and on and on. But
Couple things I want to say here before you guys pile on Russell Wilson again, like Tony Gonzalez and Richard Sherman. One has nothing to do with what we're talking about. I got to give Amazon's pregame and postgame show. It's the best in football.
Yes.
And I can't believe I'm saying this. It's hosted by a woman, Carissa Thompson. It's one of the stars of it is Richard Sherman, who I don't like. The quarterback they have on there didn't ever play in a game of any significance. But this crew is, if I had to watch a pregame show, a halftime show, a postgame show, love this crew. And so, Steve, I know you and I like to talk about broadcasting crews or whatever. This is the closest thing that the NFL has to the NBA studio show, TNT's, now ESPN's NBA studio show. I love this team.
And obviously, Sherman would be Charles Barkley with his outspokenness. And the other guys would be Kenny the Jet. And then Ernie Johnson would be Clarissa. I don't know how she feels about that comparison. But again, they're point guards. I don't disagree with that. Now, Jason, couple of things here. I have my suspicions. Tony Gonzalez might be a closeted fearless viewer. Because what he said about playing himself out of the Hall of Fame and how it started so well, someone said that a couple days ago. That was you. Tony, come out of the closet. It's okay to admit it. May hurt your career. You might get fired. Maybe not, don't admit it. Just keep watching. Drop a like and subscribe. Now, the other thing. Here I
Let me add this, Steve. Hold on. Let me add this. Tony Gonzalez mentioned me during his Hall of Fame induction deal. He tells a famous story that I motivated him. He had a bad rookie season, and I ripped him in the Kansas City Star, and that was the turning point of his career. So I don't think Tony's taking his talking points from me, but maybe he is.
I don't know.
It's a great show.
Second of all,
It's a great show, but go ahead. Yeah.
Here I thought the greatest bridge burning Sherman was the general back after the Civil War in Atlanta. No, it's Richard Sherman. Oh, and it's clear there are lingering feelings, but I want to say this about the Legion of Boom and about that blown Super Bowl. Everyone talks about that pass that Malcolm Butler picked off. Terrible call, terrible pass. But can we actually bring up the fact that the Seahawks had a 2-possession lead against the Patriots in the fourth quarter, and the Legion of Boom could not get a stop? That was also a part of that story that is not talked about enough.
I think Richard Sherman's comments accurate,
Self-serving.
but self-serving. He's trying to hype up the Legion of Boom and his own legacy and the legacy of those guys. And I get why he's like, man, if we had won a second Super Bowl, if that defense had won now we can put ourselves in a conversation with the all-time great defenses, but we only have one. And everybody loves to pick on Russell Wilson. He threw the interception, but Pete Carroll called the play, and Malcolm Butler just made a tremendous football play. I don't have a problem with the call. I don't have a problem with the way Russell Wilson threw that ball on that Super Bowl. But his complaint, I think he's a tiny bit unfair in terms of, hey, man, Russell Wilson, yes, he had a great defense, but he threw those passes. He was the quarterback during that 9-year stretch when he was really good in Seattle. And it's hard to take that away from him, but Richard Sherman wants that Legion of Boom defense to be regarded as an all-time great, and he thinks that somehow Russell Wilson is the reason they're not getting that credit.
Yeah, I think he just probably personally doesn't like Russell Wilson. It sounds like that to me. I think he's made that clear in other times anyway. Anybody who knows anything about football knows that was a mesh route. You throw that blindly. Like you throw the ball before you even know what's going on, assuming and knowing the play is going to work. That's your job as quarterback. So if you want to blame anybody, blame Pete Carroll, who's taken credit for that.
Blame the wide receiver. No one talks about, and right now I can't even think off the top of my head, who was the wide receiver?
Might have been Baldwin.
You got to get inside. You can't let Malcolm Butler beat you to that ball.
True, but you also, the way they run that, there's never anybody there. You know, it's a thing where so anyway, Butler did everything perfect. It's really one of those things. I have trouble blaming anybody on that. But I get what he's saying, because what Richard Sherman would be preaching otherwise, and he can't really do it now because of this, is, do you remember the Super Bowl we did win? It was against the greatest offense in history, and we dominated them. It was Peyton Manning's 2013, and where he scored 55 touchdowns.
Greatest offense in history.
At the time, statistically.
Greatest offense in, what year is this?
Denver Broncos, 2013.
This is after the greatest show on turf with Kurt Warner.
No, I agree with you.
Marshall Faulk.
Statistically, this is where Peyton Manning came in and his arm hadn't fallen off yet, and they didn't win that Super Bowl. This is the year that Welker was there, and they had Demaryius Thomas, and they had Eric Decker was here, and they set all the records. This is that offense. And they got destroyed in that Super Bowl by Seattle and that defense.
Gotcha.
That's what Richard Sherman would be talking about. Instead, all he can talk about is the interception. That should be the Legion of Boom legacy. But it's not.
But guys, they had a chance to close the door. They had a chance to close the door in the fourth quarter. They had 2 drives or get a stop, you win. They didn't. Tom Brady went bing, 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 bing. All-time great defense, huh? Okay. They had 2 chances to close the door. They didn't. You should talk about that a little more. Couldn't get,
That Seattle defense held that 2013 season, 2014 Super Bowl. They won 43-8. It destroyed them. They could be talking about one of the greatest defenses of all time. He's upset that we don't talk about them the way we talk about the Ravens defense. Because we don't. The Legion of Boom, even in our discussion this morning, we're like, what is the Legion of Boom? Is it just the back 4? Did they later include everybody? We can't even get their nicknames straight because they didn't end up doing enough and winning enough to become the Steel Curtain.
Well, Richard Sherman also just, if he has a second Super Bowl, his individual, play as a cornerback, and he was the leader of that defense. His argument is like, hey, there's been great, all-time great defenses, and they're all led by a middle linebacker, generally speaking. You go to the 85 Bears, it's Michael Singletary. You go to the 2000 Ravens, it's Ray Lewis. You go to the Steel Curtain, it's Joe Green and Jack Lambert. Jack Lambert was their middle linebacker. You go to the Purple People Eaters, that's 4 defensive linemen. You go to the no-name defense with the Miami Dolphins in the 70s, that's Nick Bonacani. He's the only one. Richard Sherman could have been from the cornerback position in terms of making his case to be in an argument for all-time great corners, all-time great defensive players. He gets that credit if the Legion of Boom has a second Super Bowl and maybe a third appearance. And he's taking pot shots at Russell Wilson that Steve is making the argument, hey, man, maybe you should look in the mirror. And you guys had a chance to stop these guys twice, and you didn't do it. And you know, Malcolm Butler put you to sleep.
Yeah, look, Richard was going to be fighting an uphill battle forever. This was a cover 3 scheme. Richard didn't even follow you around most of the time.
Yeah.
He stayed on his side of the field. He himself made the argument, and he was really good. But he made the argument that he was the best, but he was playing during a time where Aqib Talib would follow you around the field and shut you down. Richard didn't ever do that. Neither Darrelle Revis would shut you down wherever the best receiver is, and Richard would stay on his side of the field and play cover 3. It was always going to be an uphill argument. That's not who he was.
It's physical in the run game, not that Darrelle Revis wasn't, but Richard Sherman and that Legion of Boom, and again, they had Bobby Wagner, young Bobby Wagner at middle linebacker. I think he was a rookie in 2012.
It would have been an uphill battle, man.
Yeah, it's certainly an uphill battle.
He was the best known, though. To your point, he was the best known. But they had other good guys, too. Michael Bennett was on those teams.
Yep.
I mean, they had some players on those teams.
Cam Chancellor, Earl Thomas. It was really the safeties, but Richard Sherman was known as the leader. And there was a time where it seemed like people avoided Richard Sherman.
It was easy to do. Just go to the other side because he wouldn't follow you.
All right. Anyway, Steve and I both came up with our list of 5 greatest defenses. Mine is the 85 Chicago Bears, although I put the 2000 Ravens, which I nicknamed the perfect storm. I think they're loosely known as the Purple Crush. I never liked that name in my name. Did you ever see the movie The Perfect Storm? It's an amazing movie about a storm. Anyway, Perfect Storm. It's a great nickname for the Ravens. I got Steel Curtain, number 3, Purple People Eaters, the Minnesota Vikings. They had 4 defensive linemen all in the same year. The Purple People, Carl Eller, Alan Page. Oh, why am I?
Gary Larson.
I'm forgetting the others.
Jim Marshall.
Gary Larson, Jim Marshall. There you go. All in the Pro Bowl, I think in 1969. And then the no-name defense with Nick Bonacani. That's my top 5. Steve, your top 5?
Yeah, well, I kind of went, look, it couldn't just be about a singular year. I prefer defenses that had a bit of an era. And number 1, Steel Curtain Steelers. I think that's pretty evident. More Hall of Famers, I think, than any unit. Dominated the 70s. Like you said, led by Mean Joe Green, Jack Lambert, Mel Blount. I think all make an argument for being in the Mount Rushmore of their respective positions. Then the 2000 Ravens. So that is kind of a one-season thing. But, of course, the epicenter, the greatest of all time, Raymond Anthony Lewis. Enough said. Number 3, 85 Bears. Iconic. I think to this day, people still bring that particular unit up when they talk about singular greatness for a year, and they popularized the 46. This one's going to be a little bit of a one that I think people have an issue with. But they terrorized my Rams and Jim Everett in the 80s. The Dome Patrol Saints, Ricky Jackson, Pat Swilling, Sam Small Package Mills, and Vaughn Johnson. What a great unit. They were physical. They were fast. Just did not have an offense that could carry them further into the playoffs. And then number 5, the LT Giants. That's a great decade of football. It was Lawrence Taylor, Harry Carson, Jim Burt, Gary Reasons, decent in the secondary. But the 86 unit was dominant, and they shut down the 1990 K-Gun Bills and a historically good Niners offense. I could not leave them out of this.
Completely distracted by Steve's comment about Sam Mills. It's way out of bounds. you owe this audience and his family an apology. We don't talk about people's packages on this show, Steve.
Come on,
I have no idea where you were going.
That was his nickname. He was 5'9". He was 5'9". That's where you get your mind out of the gutter.
I covered this game forever. I've never heard Sam Mills called small package.
Small package
I
Mills.
embrace it.
I think they also used to call him the field rat, but I didn't like field rat. Small package Mills. Fit.
That's a good. Let me. We apologize on behalf of Steve.
I don't.
Let's move on. There's a third-string quarterback in the National Football League who thinks he's better than half the starters in the NFL. And guess what? His name is Shedeur Sanders. Let's hear from Shedeur as he takes a poop on the starting quarterbacks in the NFL.
The mindset of just staying locked in, staying into everything, and remaining focused on the main thing.
Do you feel like you're kind of close to getting to where you want to be in terms of, getting a chance to play this one?
I don't think playing or not playing, is in my hands. I think based on the situation, it's if things happen, things pan out where I play, then I'll be out there and I'll be ready to play. So I'm ready to play right now.
Hold for 1 second. Is that not? There's a clip of Shedeur Sanders saying that he looks around the NFL and, you look at the starters and I'm ready to play. That's not the clip I just heard. I'm pretty sure I saw that. So we've clearly pulled the wrong clip. But Steve, are you familiar with the clip that I'm talking about here?
Yeah,
where
I've heard about it.
It's part of that conversation. Yeah.
Well, other content creators done
Go
videos. Jason, I've never seen a third-string quarterback who doesn't even dress up get this much attention during the regular season. Again, it is further confirmation why a lot of teams just said, forget it. We're not bringing this. There's already enough of a circus during the regular season without him. We don't need to bring in another big tent. And look, I think it's a little unfair given the fact that if someone asks an athlete a question, they're going to answer it. And sometimes things are taken out of context or it's used for content. I don't know what we really expect Shedeur to say at this point other than no comment. But here's the issue, though. He says no comment, and then that becomes a story, the no comment.
I don't know. A third-string quarterback typically says, I'm just doing the best I can to support the team in any way that I can. Any other questions? Yeah, I'm just trying to do the best I can to support the team in any way that I can. And if my number's called, I'll be ready.
Yeah, the man, I know if you see the quarterback play in the league right now, I know I'm capable of doing better than that.
Yeah.
You're third string. And, whether I play or not, that's out of my control. Well, actually, it's not. You had some say-so in that during the preseason, during the pre-draft process.
During the draft, when you told teams you didn't want to go back up Lamar Jackson.
When you built that shrine to yourself on draft day. But anyway, I know if you see quarterbacks play in the league right now, I know I'm capable of doing better than that. If the shoe were on the other foot, because remember how Dylan Gabriel said something about, hey, I'm not an entertainer, and everybody went in there, you must be talking about Shedeur. And that was a controversy. Someone could go to Joe Flacco and say, is Shedeur talking about you? You could read this, hey, if you look around at the quarterback play, I'm capable of doing better than that. That could be a direct shot at Joe Flacco.
And it is, obviously. Of course it is. Of course it is. Who else could you be talking about? He's got pretty intimate knowledge about what's happening.
Spencer Rattler.
Okay, all right. He was talking about Spencer Rattler.
Michael Penix.
Of course he's talking about it. He's talking about a guy that won a Super Bowl 15 years ago. That's how old Joe Flacco is.
Yeah. Steve, is he taking a direct shot at Joe Flacco?
I think he's taking a direct shot at a group of quarterbacks that, now that I think about it, may actually include the guy he sees every day. All right. But I'm actually curious to see it now. Given how bad he looked in that game against the Rams about 5-6 weeks ago, now you're playing against the first string, guys with livelihoods on the line, and the speed of the game is even greater. right? Because there's preseason football and there's regular season football. Guys, there's a morbid curiosity. I actually want to see Coach Prime's prophecy come to life. I want to see Shedeur actually start a game this year as soon as possible.
I think that Shedeur Sanders clearly wants to play a game this year. He's basically trying to speak it into existence, a trade. Hey, you teams out there that are struggling at the quarterback position, particularly, and here's who I think he's really talking about. Tua Tagovailoa down in Miami. If I were down there, Mike McDaniel, I could save your job throwing the ball to Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. I think he's trying to stir up trade interest, and he's shocked that no one's interested in trading for him. And part of the reason why no one's interested in trading for him is because he won't shut up. He won't play the role that he's actually in right now. Hey, I'm a backup quarterback. Let me behave like a backup quarterback. People see you do that, and maybe he can behave like a second-string quarterback, and maybe he can behave like a starting quarterback. And then one day, maybe he'll prove to be this Hall of Fame talent or whatever, but I've seen no proof. He can't play the role that he's in right now. That doesn't give me confidence he could play a different role.
He's exactly the guy that everybody passed on for 5 straight rounds. And if the Browns didn't take him, he would have gone undrafted. I truly 100% believe that. I think the Browns were the only team stupid enough to take him. There's nobody that wanted to deal with this in the roster. Now, mid-season now, eventually, will somebody give him a chance? Their quarterback position, head coach is trying to save his job, a GM's trying to save their job, will they take a flyer? Maybe. But when you're going into playing your team, you don't want to deal with this. Why would anybody want to be anybody trying to win right now who doesn't have him as their starter? The only way you can bring him in is to start right now. Nobody will take him to come back up and have a loudmouth and then have Deion spouting off from Colorado about it's just a matter of time, we're biding our time, here he comes. Why would you want to deal with that?
Interesting question. Final topic for you guys. We don't have to spend long on this, but Bill Maher is begging Stephen A. Smith to run for the Democrat nomination as president. Bill Maher is helping plant Stephen A. Smith. Let's play the clip.
Who's the candidate on the left that can somehow derail him? Because I don't see anybody with a national presence that can pull that off. Where are you on that?
I see somebody right here in my Zoom camera, and by the way, only for you, Zoom. I hate Zoom, but for you. Where's the Stephen A. Smith presidential bubble?
No. I'd have to give up too much money, Bill. I'd have to give up too much money. I'm not giving up my money, man. I'm not giving up my money.
Yeah. Money. They'll give you a free plane from Qatar. Are you kidding? Don't worry about money. You don't need money when you're the president. You think the president carries money?
No, not
he doesn't need
years.
money.
Not for 8 years. Probably need it after that.
Well,
but go ahead.
Well, the Democrats, the reason why, I'm taking you a little more seriously for this is because the Democrats definitely need an outsider. I mean, I'm going to give you a little preview of something I'm working on that'll be on our show one of these weeks at the end as an editorial. To me, the Democratic Party is a ghost brand. You know what a ghost brand is? It's like Sears or, General Electric. It's still a company, Abercrombie and Fitch, but they've really fallen on hard times.
Yeah.
But they've been around for a long time. So there is value in, it's an asset, right? Because there are still people who know of the company, and if you could have somebody take it over, who's not sentimental about that company and, relaunch it, rebrand it. But it would have to be somebody who is unapologetic about calling them out. People have lost faith in the Democratic Party for very good reasons. You're the only one I hear who doesn't look like he cares what the other Democrats will say about it.
I don't care. I really don't.
Right,
I
know.
I don't give a damn what they say. I really don't.
I know. And it's somebody, I don't either. I'm right where you are. We're very close on all these things. And I think somebody with that kind of abandon is the only person who is going to win back former Democratic voters who have switched over.
Let me translate that argument. It's why Bill Maher is a hypocrite. I hate Donald Trump, but you know what the Democratic Party needs? They need a Donald Trump. And hey, Donald Trump, he wasn't qualified to be president. You know, all he did was run a business. But a guy as fraudulent as Stephen A. Smith, who's talked sports in an unintelligent fashion for 20 some odd years, he's qualified to be president. This is amazing, the hypocrisy here. No?
Oh, obviously. I mean, look, take atheist Bill Maher and all of his wisdom to crown the next Democratic nominee. I mean, that is what we're getting here. Don't you think this whole thing was kind of set up, though? Like, obviously.
Yes.
He didn't look like he was stunned. And he certainly, what he didn't say, too, is I'm not qualified. He said, I had to give up too much money. I'm plenty qualified, Bill. I just would have to give up too much money. The whole conversation was staged. And I think there was a bunch of people in on it. You've been saying this for a while. Stephen A., I don't ultimately think Stephen A. is going to run for president, but it's not because he doesn't want to, and it's not because people don't want him to. It's because there will be no interest. They're going to continue floating his name for the next 2.5 years until it comes time to see that nobody buys this fraud, and then they will move on.
I'm not so sure. Steve?
Speaking of ghost friends, I would equate the Democrats more to Kmart. And that would be a blue light special, but I think it's an admission from Bill Maher. He's given up. He's given up. I think some of that was tongue in cheek. I think he's trying to flatter Stephen A. Smith. I actually hope it happens. I hope Stephen A. Smith picks as his VP running mate Jasmine Crockett. I think that'd be great. It would provide us endless hours of content. But it goes to show you that if they're reverting to this, and I think Bill Maher was half kidding, right? They've run out of options, I believe. Who is that young superstar? I mean, the fact that Kamala is still doing interviews, and every interview she does, it confirms one thing. Thank God the other guy won. You don't have to like the other guy. You could have your problems with Donald Trump and the way he's running our fine country. Reality is that other option was infinitely worse. It is clear to me, guys, the Democrat Party does not have a next person. For them to even joke about it, and like you said, you're right, Jason, but that particular guy who was so critical of the, let's say, the qualifications of Donald Trump, to then say, well, hey, Stephen A., you're what we need. You're absolutely right. It is the height of hypocrisy.
And you don't have to, I don't need a big, long explanation, and I don't even need an explanation at all, but I just got to ask the question. Why do you think Bill Maher is joking here?
Because he used to be a comedian, I guess, and I think it's his own way of saying, man, you guys have nothing. We have nothing. We're done. We've hit rock bottom. I've given up, and I'm desperate enough for you, Stephen A. That's what I really believe. I believe now that they're down to gimmicks. He even thinks that in his own mind. By the way, I'm not even so sure Stephen A. Smith is as hard as a Democrat, by the way.
No, Stephen A. Smith is whatever the money tells him to believe. Yeah. That's why he was saying, I'm not giving up my money. They got to offer me a better package.
He doesn't know anything about politics. Truly. Yeah. Listen to him
or
talk
sports,
about
but go ahead.
But truly, you can talk about sports as a fan on a bar stool and just have fun with your friends. To have an intelligent political conversation, you have to actually know what's going on. He doesn't even know the lingo. Listen to his podcast. I've listened to it sometimes. Yeah. He doesn't know how to talk about it. He doesn't know the issues. He doesn't even know how to say the phrases to communicate to the people what he's talking about. He truly doesn't know anything about politics.
I'm very much aware, and that's why I think Bill Maher is kind of like, it's a big flaming statement from Bill Maher. It's like, hey man, I really don't give a F about the country. I think this country's a joke and a laughingstock. And someone as buffoonish and clownish as Stephen A. Smith, yeah, he should be president. Hey, they did it over in Ukraine. They took this comedian Zelensky and installed him as president. And, hey, why can't we do it? Yeah, this guy is very programmable, Stephen A. Smith. They gave him a thesaurus at ESPN, and he studied it and can repeat all these big words. And so we can do the same thing. He's very capable of reading a teleprompter. We practiced him as an actor on General Hospital. These are all the qualifications. Can you read a teleprompter? Can you act? And do you have a vocabulary where we can pretend like, well, if he knows what that word means, he must be smart?
Look, I think that's a big part of it. But Steve's point, I think, is exactly right. I pulled up the betting odds for the Democrats right now. Listen to this list. The top most likely Democratic nominee is Gavin Newsom at 32%. The guy nearly got recalled in his own state a few years ago. He was doing such a terrible job. This is California. Nobody thinks California has run well. California does not win independents. They can't. California has a reputation. It's not going to work. Okay? Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is number 2 with an 11% chance. AOC, the socialist barista from New York, that is who is second in line. Third is the gay mayor of South Bend, Pete Buttigieg, who somehow became an expert in the transportation area when he was talking about racist bridges. That is what this guy does. This is his expertise. And then finally you get into Josh Shapiro, who looks like a politician out of Pennsylvania and potentially could have actually helped Kamala Harris win. That's your group. Kamala Harris still with a 5% chance. Like, this is their group. They have no bench. They have nobody. That is really what this segment's about, more than anything. Bill Maher is so frustrated looking at his own side, saying, we're all woke, we're all socialists. Right now, there's an 86% chance, according to Call Sheet here, that Zohran Mamdani is going to win. A Muslim socialist, Marxist, is going to win the mayoral race in New York City. That is the state of the Democratic Party. So if we're talking about Stephen A. at all, it's an indictment about what an absolute train wreck the Democratic Party is.
Steve, gonna let you go. Thank you so much. Enjoy your. Who's Miami still in the game from this weekend?
No, we have a bye. We have a bye. Well deserved after a great quarter of football in September. Then we go, Tallahassee, Florida State. But Virginia, trap game for the Seminoles. I'll be watching that, though. And enjoy your weekend.
Thank you, Steve. Great job as always. And I want to thank Relief Factor for making that segment possible, this show possible. Relief Factor is this 100% daily drug-free supplement that I take. Christopher, a cabinet maker, he takes it as well. He was years of hard work, took a toll on his elbows, and even simple joys became hard. Then he found Relief Factor. He told us, it helped me so much, I can even enjoy bowling again, along with all the other fun things I love. For Christopher, Relief Factor gave him back more than comfort, it gave him back his lifestyle. Why won't you give it a try? I have. The 3-week quick start is really affordable. It's just $19.95. My friend Jeffrey Steele, who you guys hear me talk about all the time, we talk about our Relief Factor success stories all the time. Jeffrey's 64 now. I keep saying 63, but he's 64 now. Bikes 30 miles every morning. It's because of Relief Factor. Try their quick start today. Visit relieffactor.com or call 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF. When we come back, my Fearless 5 picks.
And I've been saying it for 3 years. The Travis Hunter thing, greatest ever. I said he's a bust, but what do I know? Shedeur Sanders.
Whoa. You just called Travis Hunter a bust?
Yeah, I said it a year and a half ago.
So hold on, you're saying 3 weeks, is it 3 weeks into his NFL deal, you're ready to call this, he's not going to live up to the hype in the NFL?
28 guys in the league, man. My eyes work. I know who's good and who's not. Like, the guy's not that good. He's not as good as everybody thought he was. Like, I'm just being honest. He's got great ball skills, good kid, all that. Look at him. Jamar Chase made him look like a little boy. He doesn't belong out there. You either need to put him on wideout and get him off the defense, or you put him on defense and get him on offense. Get him off offense. He's not that good. He's not generational. He's not Deion Sanders. He's not Champ Bailey. He's not Charles Woodson. Stop. I don't know why they always thought that. He played against these 3 transfer wideouts. He didn't have to go against the NFL All-Pro every week. Come on, man. Play Colorado State. Stop. We got to stop. But we did that. I'm not blaming the kid. We did that. We said he's the best thing ever. He's the best thing ever. He ain't going to play both ways in the NFL. Remember everybody saying that?
My favorite time of the weekend, Time for my Fearless 5 picks. I went 3-2 last week. I'm on a bit of a hot streak. Just got to get my college picks straightened out, but we're going to start with the NFL because that's where I'm hot. The Colts plus 3.5 at the Rams. The Rams defense was rock solid for the first 10 quarters of the season before collapsing in the second half in a losing cause against Philadelphia. The Colts rank in the NFL top 5 in total rushing, passing, and scoring offense. I like the Colts here at plus 3.5. I think they pull the upset. I'm all in on the Indianapolis Colts. Number 2, I'm going with TJ Moe here. Ravens minus 2.5 at the Chiefs. I like the Ravens here to win by more than a field goal. The loser falls to 1-3. Both teams last season started the season. The last time both teams started the season 1-3 was in 2015. Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson as a starter is just 1-5 against the Chiefs, but I think that changes this weekend. I like the Ravens. Third game here, Packers minus 6.5 at the Cowboys. Packers win big here. They were embarrassed last week. Dallas's defense is trash. I think the Packers come back, win this game with Micah Parsons having a big game. I think they may win this game by 21 points. A lot of points in this game for the Packers, not very many for the Cowboys. All right, let's move on to college football where I've been struggling. That struggle ends this weekend. Oregon plus 3.5 at Penn State. I like Dan Lanning more than I like James Franklin. I'm predicting an Oregon upset. They certainly cover the 3.5. Maybe they lose this game by a field goal. Maybe they lose it by 2 or 1. They're going to cover the 3.5. I like Oregon here. And then finally, the pick I feel most confident in all this weekend, and I know I'm jinxing it, but I'm sorry. I watched Indiana put a clown suit on Illinois, number 9 Illinois at the time last week, put up 63 points. Indiana minus 6.5 at Iowa. Indiana scores another 40 points this weekend, and Iowa scores 24, 28 points. Kirk Ferentz's teams can't keep up with Kurt Cignetti's offense. Indiana covers a 6.5. Those are my Fearless 5 picks. Colts plus 3.5, Ravens minus 2.5, Packers minus 6.5, Oregon plus 3.5, Indiana minus 6.5. There's your Fearless 5. Go to fearlessmission.com right now. Become a subscriber to everything we do here with Fearless and The Blaze. That's it, and that's all for us on this show. In 5 minutes, we'll be on the Harmony channel talking about the passing of Vodi Bakum. We'll see you. We'll play tomorrow, and we'll see you next week.
Waiting for the countdown, coming off the breakdown, standing in line for freedom. Looking for a breakout, feeling like a standoff, nothing in life like freedom. Came like a fighter, striking like a ladder, making all these moves for freedom. I want freedom. No negotiation, my sister, no relation. We all just wanna have freedom. Sitting on a corner, never been alone. I'm breaking my back for freedom. Blessed, we are living, get back. We are receiving, all deceiving. We all wanna be free. We want freedom. I just want, I wanna be. I just want, I wanna be. I just